Hey, welcome. If you're on Zoom, can you just let me know if you can hear okay? Okay, we got a thumbs up. Perfect. All right, well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to the accessibility course. So it's really meant to be truly a crash course. So please let me know where you are, what you know. I'm going to go through everything you need to know about accessibility in 60 minutes. So it's going to be really fast, but tell me to slow down or speed up based on what you need, okay? So just real quick check-in. Where are we all at with accessibility? And so like, we've got our classes ready to go. Okay. Okay. So, all right, so we're still in, you do it, getting everything ready for next week. Okay. Does anybody feel like they really know accessibility, but they came here to learn something new? Okay. Okay, awesome. So if you have any tips and tricks of your own and you've already gone through, you do it, feel free to share them with our colleagues, because this is really meant to be a place where we can all just kind of share our own tips and tricks so we can really quickly and easily make our content accessible. Okay. Okay. Demystifying, that's our goal today. And you'll have to bear with me. I can't get this to work, so I have to so just like that's my monitor, or that one. So it's hard. Okay, but anyway, we can do this. All right, so those on Zoom, please let me know if you can see my screen. And it should be on the accessibility crash course. Okay, and we're also going to have the chat up. Okay, so basically when we think about accessibility, we really want to think about these big buckets. So I'm going to go through each of these really quickly. A lot of times accessibility is kind of taught as a bunch of random different things, and so it's hard to remember all the stuff that we're supposed to do, but it can help if you just think about these buckets. Okay, and this applies whether you're using PowerPoints, Words, PDFs, or Canvas. So you want to be paying attention to these buckets regardless of what tool you're using. So the first one is lists. We want to make sure that everything is formatted as a list. And this is important because for a screen reader, you can actually navigate through your content on a page by lists. So for example, if your teacher says, you know, here are your to-dos for this week. If it's not formatted as a list, they're not going to be able to navigate through the list. But if it's formatted as a list, then they'll get all the to-dos, and it's really easy to navigate with the keyboard. And they can also skip to those. So it's really helpful because visually we see those little bullets, right? We go, okay, I need to look at that. I need to, you know, I can skim to that. If we format it so that it's formatted as a list, then you can also skim even if you can't visually skim. Make sense? Okay. Yes.
I was just gonna, you may cover it, but bullets versus numbers, were you going to cover that?
Yes. Okay. So when we think about lists, there's just a couple of things that we need to pay attention to. I saw another, did you have a hand up too?
Yeah, how do you format a list?
Yeah, good question.
In Word?
So Word is actually a lot easier to format than Canvas. So in Word, usually if you put a star and then you press space, it'll automatically format it. It'll turn it into that bullet, right? But in Canvas, it doesn't do that. And so we're so used to being able to just press space and it knows it's a list and it does it for us. Canvas doesn't do that. So that's where we can kind of struggle sometimes. So I'm going to show us how to do it in Canvas, and then I'm also going to show us how we can check it in Word. So it's basically the same thing. Oh my goodness, that's so many courses. Okay. What is, I can't see any of this. Oh, I know. I got it. Thank you. Thank you. Over here. That's it. Is that the practice show? Wow. It doesn't look like it from this angle. Okay. All right, so I'm going to just create a page. Hello, welcome. It's really missing a lot of stuff for me today. All right, so All right, I'm just going, there we go. Okay, so we have our page, right? When we're editing our page, and let's say I'm typing something in, and I do that, you know, it doesn't automatically turn it into a bullet. So all you have to do, let's say, to-dos. You just want to make sure that you go to the rich content editor, and it'll be this little option that shows bullets, right? And so you'll just click on that and you'll say,
Screen bigger.
oh, yes, I can. That will help me too. Is that better?
Yeah.
So let's say that I have my to-dos, right? So I have it bulleted and I can now name them. So, finish homework and study. So I can see here, I can always double check that this is a list because when I click on it, it will have that little dot right above the bulleted. Do you see that little dot? So that's how you know it's technically formatted as a list. And what that's telling us is that in the HTML, there's code that's telling it it's a list. And that code is what the screen reader picks up on. But we don't need to go into HTML to do that. All we have to do is pay attention to that little dot right there. Now, if it's really important that they first finish their homework before they study, that's where we have a numbered list, because that's where we want to make sure it's in order. If there's no order necessary, then use the round bullets. But if there's an order, then that's when you use the numbers. And so for that, you would just click on these little arrows and you just click 1, 2.
Wait, can you do that real quick?
Yeah. So you highlight it and you just click on the little arrow right next to the, yeah, and you can switch it. You could do A's, you could do numbers, you could do bullet. Any questions on that one? Okay. So in Microsoft Word, you can just double check, you know, you can Google how to format a list, but it's basically the same thing. It'll show up in Word. Let's see, let's do that one too. Do we want to see it in Word? Why not? We're here, right? Okay. So it'll be the same thing. So we'll say to-dos. And then you say, now notice this, look, I do the star. Yes. Okay, bear with me. Okay, so we do the star and then it turns into that bullet. Did you see that?
That's new. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. And that's why, right. So the other thing you can do, but you can see here that it's formatted as a list because it's got that little box around the list. And that's how you can visually tell that the coding behind it is making it read as a list.
When you say star, are you talking about the one that's on the number 8?
Yes, exactly. You do star in space and it turns into a bullet.
Sorry.
But it doesn't do that with Canvas. So it's like Canvas's little trick to keep us on our toes. Any questions about list? Okay, I see a question in the chat about fixing something with flagging untitled and titled. And let's see. Untagged and tagged and untitled. So I can show everybody how to fix that because that's the most common error that we see with PDFs. Has anybody seen that error when they've done you do it? Do we know how to fix it? Or we're like, what in the world does that mean?
I Googled it and I figured out a fix, but I don't know if it's right. That's
Well,
why I'm here.
Yeah, okay. So you know what? We're gonna skip to that one because that's really helpful to know. And that's the most common issue you're gonna see when you're doing your You Do It. So Andrew, we're gonna get to your question right now. Okay. So we covered lists. Yay. Now let's go to the tagged and untagged PDFs. So everybody at Bakersfield College, to make PDFs accessible, you first need to have an accessible Word doc, right? That's the easiest way to do it. It's much easier to make sure your Word doc is accessible and then create a PDF. So to do that, you need to have Adobe Pro. But everybody here at BC, we all have access to Adobe Pro and you don't even need to request it anymore. So all you have to do is just sign into Adobe and it'll say, you need to be a pro for this, and you just type in your BC credentials and then you can sign in. And that's really helpful because when you have Adobe Pro, how many of you were told a while ago, like, you know, how to make accessible PDFs and you thought save as PDF would make it accessible? It doesn't. Yeah, it strips it away, actually. So we're gonna talk about titles and all that good stuff in a little bit. But I'm just realizing now that they're not seeing everything, so hold on. So we're gonna talk about titles and the other things that we need to do in Word docs. But we do all this hard work, we need to make sure that we save our PDFs correctly so that it doesn't get rid of all that hard work that we did. Because basically what it does, if we don't save it correctly, it'll basically take away all that HTML coding that we did all that hard work to make sure it was formatted correctly. It takes it away and it won't read it in a PDF. But we can save it so that it still retains that stuff. Okay. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, okay, hold on, all right, here we go. Okay. New share. And Sandra, where did you learn that trick?
I think in one of our department meetings, Matt, I have the privilege of being in academic technology with me in my department, right? So anyway, he said, don't save as PDF, but to do the save PDF. Adobe, whatever in the choices. But then I went this morning and John Farmer said something totally different. So I'm curious to see.
So that's from the Web AIM Accessible Documents training. That's where that information comes from.
And I've done it.
Yes, and so I would recommend if you are interested in making, like demystifying how to do this a little bit more, the Web AIM Accessible Documents training is free, it's online, and it doesn't take a lot of time each week, but it's so helpful. And they give you all these really in the weeds tips that make a big difference. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. It's free for us right now. Okay, so going back to our PDF, so let's say we go to Adobe. Does that say Adobe?
Oh.
That. Okay, fine. I don't want to. Okay. Does anybody see the Adobe like file reader one?
You didn't type Adobe at the bottom of your search.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, that's it. Thank you. Okay, we did it. All right. So, oh, Microsoft Edge can be so aggressive. No. We're just gonna, oh my, okay. Okay, so it may, you know what, it may not be downloaded on this computer. No, it's that one. All right, well, we're gonna do this. I'll log in. I really don't want to. Okay, so this is what you all are gonna go through. Okay, so basically the title of the PDF, it'll be the same thing with Word documents. You think you have a title because you have a title at the top of your page, right? It's actually something in document properties. And so it's a really quick fix. Is that what you found? Yeah, nice. So you just Google it and you can fix that title. You add the title in document properties, and then it will have a title. So you did the right thing. Good job. Yeah. Yes. The only thing that's kind of annoying about the title is that we can't fix it directly in UDoIt. So in UDoIt with tagged PDFs, we can fix that without having to leave UDoIt. But if it's untagged and untitled, the fastest way is just to download the PDF, add the title, and then do the auto tag. So I can show us how to do that. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's go to my practice site. And okay, here we go. So I'm going to pull up my UDoIt. And this will make you all feel so good because this is, my practice site, which has everything in it, and it's horrible. It's so many errors. Oh, look away, that's not true. But when we get to the file, you'll see. So, let's say I go to the files. No, you know what? This one has nothing in it. That's why it's so good. No, this is I'm looking for the practice site. That's what I needed. Okay, let's just go to. Okay. I gotta go to all my courses. We'll get there. Okay. So let's go to practice site. There we go. Okay. This one will make you feel, okay, this will be good. Okay, so we go to UDoIt. And there we go. Look. Yeah, okay. So let's go to the files and you'll see this is untagged, right? So to fix the untagged file, all we have to do is go review and you'll request the auto tagged PDF. We request that. And then it'll take a little while. And once that comes out, then this will be ungrayed out. So this will be an option to replace file with an auto tagged PDF. So if it's just untagged, that's a pretty quick, easy way to do it. Any questions on that one?
Then once it's tagged, are you good? Or not?
Then you're good. If that was the only issue with this file, then you're good. Then you'll get a little, once you replace file with an uploaded file, you should get a little check mark and you should be good. Now, sometimes we've seen an error with UDoIt where it's not replacing the file. So it's not, it's something weird on the back end. If that happens, it's not you. Just email Dan Hall and he'll put in a help ticket with UDoIt because there's something weird going on, but it's usually you'll get a little check mark. When you go back, it'll show you that you have one less issue to fix. So let's try it out. We had 24%, right? I'm going to click replace file. Okay, so I got a check mark, right? File replaced. And that means that everywhere that this file is linked to, if it's my syllabus and I have it linked in 5 different places, every one of those places, it'll be replaced. It'll be fixed everywhere. Okay, and then let's just double check. Let's go back home. Okay, it went up to 27%. Wins. Okay, so that's the untagged. Now, if you have one that is untagged and doesn't have a title, this one has a missing title, right? So this one, what you would, the best way to do this is, unless you have the files perfectly organized in your computer and you're ready to go, I typically just open it and then I download the file and I fix it. So you'll need to fix it in Adobe. That's why you'll want to have Adobe downloaded on your computer. And then so even though it has a title, you'll go to File Properties and you'll add the title. So I'll just show you really quickly what that looks like. So here you can see that this is where you'll add the title. So you'll find the document property and WC3 AIM has
Yeah,
really
so I'm
helpful
turning up, getting ready to go.
step-by-steps about how to
Switching
do
over
that.
to this thing on my phone.
So then I would fix the file, I click save, And then instead of replace with an auto tagged file,
Recording in
I'm
progress.
going to replace with an uploaded file. And then I'll just find that file that I just fixed, put it in here, click submit, and then I'll get another check mark.
Can I ask you real quick, what does it mean that it's untitled? What does that even mean?
So that one, it just means that it has a title probably on the page itself, but it's missing this title in the document properties. So that means that someone who's using a screen reader wouldn't be able to find the document, like have the title of the whole document read to them.
Maybe look at that, so if you're doing it through when you do it. And you want to use that document again in say another class or something else, it hasn't saved it with the title, correct?
That's a very good point. So if you have multiple classes, and it would be easier to fix that file and then upload it to multiple classes, that could be a reason why you may want to do that. Just depends on how organized you are with your files. Okay, yes.
Are we able to use the law for scan documents? They're gonna come up unaccessible every time.
Yes, because when we scan documents, it'll just basically take a picture of it. And so it can't read us the picture. Now, with Adobe Pro, there are some really easy things we can do to fix it. So in Adobe Pro, you can save the file as, and you can shoot it back to a Word document. So even if it's a picture, you can convert it to a Word document. So if I had a scanned file, I would try that first and see if you can get some text out of it that you can fix. You'll probably have to go through and double check and maybe do some stuff with the formatting, but you'll be able to convert it back, fix it in Word, and then save it as a PDF or leave it as a Word document.
This title thing is gonna always be required. I've decided I'm gonna just make it a habit to always make the original document, so I didn't know if you wanted to show them on Word. This is the same.
Oh,
You
yeah,
already have the document open. It's
Yeah.
the same whether it's PDF.
That's exactly right.
or Whatever.
Yeah,
But it's really easy
yeah.
to show them where.
Okay, I'm gonna need somebody.
Show it and-
Am I close?
Right there.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so yeah, so when you go to the Word, it's the same thing. You'll need a title there. And you'll just type, you see how that title is blank? And it doesn't look like there's anywhere to click, but there is. So you click on it and then you just type in your title. Syllabus, whatever the class is.
It doesn't automatically put.
It doesn't, no.
No, when you hit save as and you title it, then it would also populate there.
Yeah, I would just remember that accessibility, like this type of web accessibility is relatively new. You know, like 30 years or so. And so a lot of these companies, there hasn't been so much pressure on making things accessible. So a lot of it right now is very manual for us to double check things. But I really do think that it's gonna get better in the future because there's so much more of a push now for accessibility that I think companies are gonna start making it not so awful for us.
Yeah, I just have to add to that, like our publisher, Engage,
Mm-hmm.
our PowerPoints were not accessible, but the latest editions are, so if you have old ones, just use your new ones.
Yeah, yeah. And so that brings me, I'll share some tips and tricks at the end, but spoiler alert, one of the tips, if you're trying to get everything ready for you do it, the first thing I would do is I would go to Tidy Up. Have you all been to Tidy Up? Okay, so Tidy Up is a free tool that we have access to. And basically it allows you to see what stuff you don't use in your shells anymore. Because you don't want to spend your time fixing something that you're not using, right? So Tidy Up will, and if you're like me, like shelves kind of become a dumping ground where you save stuff that you think you're going to need someday, but maybe you don't. So what we can do is you can just go to the academic technology website, the BCAT, we have a support form, and you can ask for a shell. You can just have everything, you know, have an old shell that has everything in it, and then you can clean up one and make a new shell accessible. And then like with only the stuff you need. And that way you don't have to worry about, do I want to make this, you know, just keep a backlog of it and then fix the stuff that you're going to actually use this semester. This has everything in it, so it takes a long time to scan. So I'm gonna let it scan and then I'm gonna hop back to that and show you how to use it. But I'm gonna hop on over to, back to the crash course. Okay. I should have worn binoculars. I feel like that would have really helped. Okay, heading. So headings, that's what, when we get the untagged file disclaimer, that's what it's saying is missing, are headings. So headings are something that we want to make sure are formatted, just like we do with our bullets, right? So some of us may say to-dos. I want to make that a heading. I want students to know that that's, you know, an important chunk of information. So I'll bold it and I'll make it bigger, right? But that doesn't actually format it as a heading. And it's important for a screen reader to have it formatted as a heading because just as students can scan through the list, when it's a header, then you can scan through that with a screen reader as well. So that means that if I listened to the syllabus, but I just need to know where office hours are because my midterm is next week. If I'm using a screen reader, I have to listen through the whole thing if there's no headers being used just to get to that office hours. But if there are headers, I can skim, I can just toggle between the headers and I can get to office hours really quickly. So it makes it so much easier. Just like we visually skim, it helps students skim if they're using a screen reader. So what you do is you just highlight it and right here it says paragraph. You're going to just select heading. And then when you click on it, you can see it says heading 2, right? And this says paragraph. Because test is heading 1. So in Canvas, the page title is always going to be heading 1. So in Word, you'll see heading 1 as an option. So the only thing we want to remember about headings is we have to make sure we format things as headings, and we have to make sure we don't skip around. Because it doesn't make any sense to go from heading 2 to heading 4, right? That didn't make sense. But we can go from heading 2 to heading 3 and back to heading 2. Because it's just like an outline. So if we say to-dos and then we say office hours, and then we say office hour time and office hour location, and then study guide. So here I'm going to say office hours is a heading 2. And then office hour time and office hour location, those are all going to be heading 3, right? Because they're smaller than office hours. And then study guide, that's going to be back to a heading 2, because that's at the same level as the other one. We just can't go from heading 2 to heading 4. Okay, questions on that? Very good question, Andrew. You can change the formatting as much as you want, and it won't, as long as it still says header, you're good. Oops. So let's say that to-dos, I don't like how that looks. I want to make it 14-point font. That's fine. It still says heading 2. So as long as it's still formatted as heading 2, you can play around with the formatting as much as you want.
This may not be related to the name. On the You Do It, I got a lot of mentions about the color, so keeping it in bold, keeping it in italics. So does it prefer no? So I just took them out because I didn't know.
Right. Very good question. And spoiler alert, I will get to that because we'll talk about color. Yeah. And we can talk about that next, but I just want to finish up with, so formatting on a Word and PDF. It's the same thing. So in Word, let's say we go back, we'll just make sure that we highlight this, and then we have this heading banner right here. And so we'll click heading 1. Now let's say that I have a file, I have my syllabus, I already have the headings, I did all that formatting, and then I click on this and it's gonna mess up my formatting, right? I don't like that. I don't understand why they do that. But what I'm gonna do is, let's say I have my formatting that I like, I have my MLA, you know, whatever it is, it's bolded, I did all that hard work. I can just right click on heading 1 and say update heading to match selection. Yeah, and so then anytime I do a heading 1 now, it's gonna use that formatting for the whole document. Yes, yes. And then you can change that formatting and it saves a lot of time. Very, very satisfying. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. Any other questions on headings? Are we good? Those are pretty straightforward, right?
And
Yes.
you're saying like if I'm on my home computer and I save it as a PDF, that's not gonna work. I have to go to like BC and save it because it's got Adobe Pro.
No, you can log into Adobe Pro on your home computer.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So you'll just be able to log in with your BC credentials and you'll be able to access it on your home computer.
Huh.
I've heard there's a limit of maybe like 3 computers. But yeah, so I think as long as you're not using it on, every single computer you can possibly find, you'll be fine. Yeah.
And Alex, to get there, did you say through Save As or Save as Adobe PDF on the?
That's Adobe PDF, yeah. Yeah, so we do all that hard work with the headers, and let's say I'm in Word. It's not gonna show up here because we don't actually have Adobe Pro on this computer, which is funny to me, but come on. But let's say we did have Adobe Pro on this computer, we would see an Acrobat sign, an Acrobat would show up right here next to help. And so then we would click on Acrobat and it would say, we would see create PDF as an option. When we click on the Acrobat, that'll show up right next to help. But you have to have Adobe Pro downloaded on your computer and then it'll automatically show up on your Word. So then you create PDF and what it'll do is it'll say, oh, I recognize all the hard work you did with your headers, kudos. And then you won't get that untagged file issue. Then it'll be a tagged file because the tags are just headers in PDF. We like to use their own word.
So under file, if you go to save as Adobe PDF.
Oh, that'll work too. That'll work too, yeah. Yeah. You just don't want to,
Doesn't have it on there.
yes. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to do the save as here,
Even though you can choose PDF, right?
even though
But
you can
it's
choose.
not the Acrobat version.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Mine seemed to work.
Have you checked that they're not tagged though? Yes, so I tested this myself with my syllabus and when I saved it as, I clicked save as, it stripped out all the headers and I had to go through and re-tag it. But when I did the create PDF, then it kept the headers and I didn't have to tag it again.
So when I hit Save as Adobe PDF,
That should work.
it
Yeah.
doesn't pop anything up, but I do have Acrobat on here, because I just looked for you and pop in there. And so if I just go with the Acrobat tab, then I can choose Create PDF from there.
You can do it from Adobe as well.
But I don't get the other option. Save as PDF, Adobe PDF.
Okay.
It pops up the data normal, like I did a Save As.
Okay, and you didn't see the Acrobat up.
I do have the Acrobat up there.
Oh, then I would do.
But didn't see that.
Yes, so when I do it, I do the Acrobat and I do create PDF.
Oh,
Yeah, good question. Okay, all right, so let's hop back on over here. Alternative text, this one's pretty straightforward. This one, it will get easy flags from you do it. Basically, you want to make sure that you have a description of the text so that if somebody's using a screen reader, or the image, so that if somebody's using a screen reader, they know what they need to know from that image. If it's purely decorative, just mark a decorative box. And there's going to be a decorative box, whether you're in Word or Canvas. And they'll always, whenever you run an accessibility checker, that one comes up consistently, always. It's really easy to catch and really easy to fix. Alt text is kind of an art, not a science. So you want to think about what you want that picture to convey. So if I have a picture of a kid holding the hand of a parent crossing a street, if I'm teaching a class on childhood safety, I might say, always make sure to hold your kid's hand when crossing a street. But if I'm teaching a course on childhood psychology and parental bonding, maybe I'll say, spend time with your kids or something like that. So the what you want the picture to convey will change depending on what your lesson you're teaching. And so you'll kind of play around with it a little bit. But you'll get more comfortable with it the more that you do it. Just really think about, what do you want? What is, if you want to describe this, what does somebody need to be able to understand? Questions on alt text? Okay, color, we got to it. So color alone can't be used to convey meaning. So I think what you were getting is that if something is highlighted in yellow, then we can't just highlight something in yellow, because if someone's colorblind, that won't mean anything. So we can have it highlighted in yellow and we can italicize it. And then that's okay, then that'll get rid of that flag. So we can still use color, we just have to make sure that we're not using color alone. So for example, if I say all the things highlighted in yellow are due on Thursday, and I do this, then I'll just say highlighted in yellow and italicized. Does that make sense? Okay. The other thing about color is we need to make sure there's a big enough contrast. So I'm sure that you've all been in presentations where you've seen things and they're really hard to read, right? So we just need to make sure that there's a big contrast between the colors so that we can see it. So, you know, obviously like black and white, there's a good contrast there. If you have colors that you're really wanting to use, you can always do the WebAIM color contrast checker. And you can double check that the colors are going to pass. So if you get green, then it means it passes. So that's if you're working with specific colors that you really want to use. So color's pretty straightforward too, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Found in, I was using Matt's, I'm trying to put him on blast, but his resource page
Yeah.
that I think he created, and I don't know, but everybody's been kind of putting in themselves.
Yeah.
And that had a lot of colors.
Yeah. So if you need to have, also some of the older, like resource pages still link out to the old website. Okay. Yeah, so if you need an updated one, I have, an updated like orientation module and an updated, Canvas student resource page, like BC Student Resources. You can find it if you just go to Canvas and you search, Alex Rocky and Commons, it'll show up there. And then you can just import that page and yeah, just delete it. Or put it in your old shell and save it. Isn't it fun?
Resources and the whole orientation module.
Yeah, if the orientation module is a little, it's just a little bit, it's not an online student orientation module, so there's not all those quizzes about how to submit things and stuff like that. But it's just a basic module. If you want to have a quick basic intro module, you're welcome to. So you just search Alex Rocky, and there's a bunch of stuff there that you can ignore, but you can look for surveys, and then this is the Bakersfield College Student Resources. Yeah. And then the template, and then the orientation module. Okay. And I checked those so that with you do it, so those should be good. And if you see any errors, let me know so I can fix it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, links is another one that's pretty straightforward. So basically, when we have a link, we just need to make sure that it is, here we go. When we have a link, we need to make sure that it is descriptive, right? So we don't want to say HTTPS:// because that's so obnoxious for someone to listen to the whole thing being read. The other nice thing is that you can also toggle between all the links. So if you just need your professor's Zoom office hours, you can toggle and get those really quickly. But if they're not labeled, you don't know, is this going to go to my Zoom office hours or is this going to go to the class Zoom room? You know, so it's just very helpful for somebody when they're using it. So to do that, we just want to make sure it's descriptive. So we'll say Zoom office hours. All right, just ignore that. But And then you take the URL and you will go in the rich content editor and you can add it with this link. And this is something that UDOIT is pretty good about catching is the descriptive links. The other thing is, we have accessibility checkers on the page and it will tell us. Not okay. Should tell us. It didn't tell us. Okay, so the accessibility checkers are not going to be very helpful sometimes with that. If you do have like MLA and you need to have the citations, you can still have that. What you'll do though is you'll just unlink it. So right now it's a hyperlink, so you'll just remove the link and that will meet accessibility guidelines. Any questions on links?
Is it acceptable to use cloud storage links or links?
Yeah, so UDOIT won't check those, no. No. So whenever we have a link to something, we're saying this is the information in this link or is accessible to people. Yeah. So if we know that a website is not accessible, then we can't use it. Okay. Hi. All right.
Because it's that cool.
Okay, captions. Does anybody have questions on captions? Yes. Okay, so we need to make sure that everything is captioned, right? And it can't be automatically generated captions because those aren't going to be accurate. So if we're using Canvas Studio, it's really easy to fix the captions in Canvas Studio. And the nice thing about Canvas Studio is you can record the video and you can embed it in your course and then you can fix the captions. So if you change the captions, it'll just automatically always show up. If you notice that you missed something or something like that. So it'll automatically create the captions for you and then you'll just go back in and you'll click on English and then you'll be able to go through and fix it. You can also do a replace all, which is very helpful. So if you notice that I created a video and it said Padlet, every time I said Padlet, I thought I said paddleboard. So you can search for all the times that you say that and then replace all, which is helpful. The one thing about UDOIT is if you're using Canvas Studio, it will say, hey, I noticed you're using this. Are you sure the captions are accurate? So it doesn't check that you fix the captions. So what you'll have to do is you'll just have to click, yes, mark as resolved. I fixed it. I fixed it. I fixed it. The only thing that UDOIT can't check is private videos on YouTube. And that's something where even if you know that they're not automatically generated, they're accurate captions, if it's private, it will still show up as an error and you can't resolve it. So that's where you're going to make a little message to your dean saying, I double checked, all these captions are accurate, they're just unlisted videos and UDOIT can't check it. Do we know how to check YouTube videos for caption?
So that before you leave that screen, how did you get to the replace?
Oh, so you just do search text for,
And proper?
yeah.
Is there any way to take YouTube video and convert it into studio, or you just have to redo the whole thing?
Is it your video or?
Like when we first started, I started doing YouTube and I had a bunch of videos that are on YouTube. The captions are good, I did them. But to avoid this problem, is there a way to just convert it into studio, or do you have to redo it?
But the captions are already good?
Yeah.
Are they unlisted?
Unlisted.
I don't know that you're still gonna have to click mark as resolved for each video, so.
Yeah, and I think I did that. You can manually mark the result and then it's mine.
Yeah, but you can't if it's an unlisted YouTube video. It'll still show up as an error. Yeah, so if it's your YouTube video, you should be able to download it from YouTube and then you can just upload it here. And the captions are pretty quick. Yeah. If you do have a lot of videos that you've created that you want to have accurately captioned, we have something called 3CM Media. Through California Community Colleges. And so you can sign up for this and you can upload your videos and it will caption them for you.
Isn't that good? Or-
And it will be accurate, yes. Yes, because the auto-generated captions are not going to be perfect, so you always have to double check that they're right. But this has someone double checking that it's right, but it's just not you. That's a good question. I've heard it's pretty quick, but I don't know. If anybody wants to test it out, let me know.
What is it, free?
3CM. You just Google 3CM Media.
And, how do you download it? Is there, something downloaded?
So what you'll do is you'll go to log in and you'll create an account and then you'll upload your videos and then they'll caption them for you.
But they won't caption fix YouTube videos.
No, unfortunately, no, YouTube videos are a bane.
I don't know how to fix them.
No.
I have the rate because of their punctuation.
Yeah, or the capitalization, and so I've been using them because it's all the right words, but technically it's not accessible.
So Dan has some workarounds that he's been playing with. I might send him an email. Because there's some things that you can use to download YouTube videos and then you can upload them to Canvas Studio. But it's just kind of tricky because they're not technically your videos, so you have to download something. All right, okay, good. We're doing good. Okay, so tables, I would recommend trying to avoid using tables unless you need them for data. But they're just a little bit difficult to make accessible. So if you're using them to help with the layout of a page, try to avoid that and just use tables when you're having data. Now, if you do need to use a table, the way that I like to do it is I like to put them in wrong and then I like to fix it. So this is my table. Basically, we just need to make sure that it knows how to read it. So let's say I have my table. And I'm going to, this is gonna be office hours. This will be the day. Monday. You know, let me look at my typing. Okay. And location. Oh, shoot. Okay, none of this makes sense. Okay. And then this will be Zoom and, office. Yeah, I know. I just didn't turn it off. Okay, so it doesn't look quite so bad when you're standing over there in the corner. So you can see this little person at the bottom, right? And you see the two bubbles that popped up. So that means that there's accessibility errors. So he's saying, stop, help me. So all you need to do is just go here and he'll tell you how to fix it. Or she, we don't know. This person will tell us how to fix it. So we add a caption and that's so that the table knows, or so that somebody using a screen reader knows what the table's about, so that they can decide, do I even need to look into this table right now? No, I can skip it. So basically, so I'll say office hours. Okay, I'm gonna fix it. Did it. And then you want to set the header. So the header is if you're going to have, that's so that it doesn't just get read from from left to right. Because if you don't have a header, it's just gonna read day, Monday, Tuesday, location, Zoom, office. You're like, I don't know, but which day is Zoom, which day is office, right? So you want to set either the header row, and that's only if it's just the header. If the first row is the header, right? If that's the only thing that needs to be a header. But here we have a header for the row and the column, because that's how we're gonna find what's happening each day. So that's where you're gonna set header, row, and column. And then you click apply. Now you get the balloon. Okay. All right, questions on that one? Pretty straightforward. Okay, we're zooming. Wow, we still have 9 minutes. Okay. Files, we already talked about files a little bit. We talked about saving them so that they're accessible. We want to make sure that we have the accessible Word document before we save it. That's the easiest way to do it. The more that you can try to just embed things directly into Canvas, the easier your life's going to be. So if you have like 15 study guides that are all Word documents, but they don't need to be Word documents, you don't need students to have that as a Word document. It might just be easier to copy and paste and create a page in Canvas, because it's just easier to make those more accessible and remove all the documents that you don't need. But if you do need documents, then make the Word accessible and then the PDF.
Is it considered correct to just do PDFs and no Word, or doesn't matter anymore?
Doesn't matter, yeah.
You can open it with PDF.
Yeah, sometimes PDFs are easier on a mobile device and they're easier across devices. So sometimes it can be easier for students if to save things as PDFs. But you know. So Word document.
If they don't have an office, if they don't have that on their device, then they can't read it. They can only read it.
Right.
For that reason, I usually keep everything. Yeah.
It's also easier to be able to like zoom in, the formatting saves a little bit. So sometimes worth it to go that little extra step to get that PDF. Okay, questions on this? All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is the accessibility checks, and then I want to show you Tidy Up. So accessibility checks, we want to make sure that we're always running our accessibility checks because it's going to help us a lot if we're just paying attention to building accessible materials from the beginning. So in Canvas, we have this little person and it will tell us if something is not accessible. Sometimes it can't check for stuff though, right? We saw that it didn't know how to check for the URL. So we still need to know what we need to be paying attention to, but this little person will help us if we forget to add alt text to an image. It's really good at picking that stuff up. Same thing with Word. We can run the accessibility checker in Word, and that will coach us through how to fix things. And then we run the accessibility checker again in PDF. So even when we create an accessible Word document, we still want to run that accessibility checker in PDF because there might be some errors that come up.
It's obvious where it is in the PDF.
Not really, actually. So what I do is I search for it in the search bar. I just search accessibility check and then it pops up. But I can show you in Word where that's at.
Yeah, I think it in Word. I was wondering PDF.
Yeah, so PDF is not quite as
Search for it.
just search. I always search accessibility check and then it creates an accessibility report and you can go through it. And some of it is confusing. And so if you have issues with that, don't hesitate to reach out to Academic Technology. We can do our best to help you with that. Tagging the PDFs, but a lot of times if we do the work of having the headers in Word, then the PDFs should be tagged correctly, as long as we remember to save it that fancy way. Okay, Tidy Up? Okay. Oh, question? What?
Oh, okay.
We have a question, but he'll be-
Okay, it'll be quick. Okay, so basically, when you're in Tidy Up, after you scanned it, it'll show you all the files that you have and it'll tell you where they're used. So for example, this file is used nowhere. That means I don't have it in a page and I always put my PDFs in pages. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that because it's just buried deep. Students will never access that. So I know I can delete it. It will also tell you, you can look at folders. So if you're trying to go through the folders where your images are, but you can also look at Canvas content. And so it'll tell you this has content, it's not an empty page, but it's not published and it's not in modules. And so for me, everything I do is in modules. So I know, okay, I can delete that because I'm not using it, right? And so that can be helpful. To do that before you do it, so that you can only fix the stuff that you need to fix.
No, but you know, in modules, you have to publish it, and you have to publish all the pages. Is it, if you didn't publish it, is it gonna show up that way and then you're accidentally deleting it? Because you thought it wasn't being used?
So that's when you would wanna just, if it's in module, then you probably, I would double check it before I would delete it. This is the biggest one that I would be paying attention to, because sometimes I accidentally unpublish things or I'm not publishing them because I'm saving them. But I'm not gonna be having students use anything that's not in module. But it'll also tell you when it was last updated.
So if it's in an unpublished module, it should still show up there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Question? Yes, you had a question.
Yeah, it's totally unrelated, but I think it might be beneficial for some people. Cause I noticed the multi-tool is now something different and it wasn't importing all assignments into it, and so figured out through some other people that you have to authorize it.
I've heard that. I've seen that. So how do you want to walk us through that? Yeah.
Would anybody want to see that? It's just
Yeah.
really bad.
And make sure they know what.
Yeah, we should tell everyone. It happened at the end of last semester and I could not figure it out and I didn't. pay
I get extra points for.
Yeah. 10 points.
Oh, we can't see.
I know it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, now I know where you're coming from.
You know.
Being dramatic.
So this, I guess this is extra, but I think it would be helpful for anybody who has a lot of assignments that are trying to change the due date in one place instead of clicking in and having to change into each assignment. It will save you a lot of time to use this. It was called multi-tool, and so now it's more difficult to find. I don't know if anybody's already seen that, but now it's called City Labs multi-tool.
I'll drive them.
Oh, okay. It's called City Lab Multi-Tool, so if you click on that, you can, oh, it's hard for you to. You can go in and you can build your templates, obviously, if you've been to one of Matt's trainings that has all these things. But you can go to the due date modifier, and what it was not doing was gathering the assignment. You scroll down, it's doing it on this one.
Of course, it's been authorized.
Right, but if you want to authorize yours and it's not working, you go to this module builder up here where it looks like that little org chart thing. And then it would bring you to a page where it has the same thing authorized. You click that, then go out, and then it will start working. Yeah.
There's also in Canvas, if you go to assignments in Canvas. Up at the very, so you go to assignments in Canvas and then go to the kebab at the very top right. And say edit assignment dates. Canvas now provides this for you without multi-tool. Now you get it all on this page here.
That's for every assignment.
Yeah, so now you just change the dates and save rather than like close, open and say, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, and sorry for hiding.
No,
That's
thank
your
you.
next class every semester, what you have to know.
Yeah.
Oh, new feature, you need Canvas.
Yeah, there were a lot this summer.
But I couldn't believe that so many faculty didn't know that multi-tool even existed.
Yeah.
And to me, it's been around for so long, like faculty are putting them in each individual.
I know.
I didn't even know this existed, but.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah,
sounds cool.
we used to deliver multi-tool and like when design tools was 30
Yeah.
separate workshops, it would always be in the first one, but then after that, it was like, we combined everything and condensed it down, yeah.
That's what I want to see how to do with that.
Yeah, you have to do training.
Right.
There's some people that do training.
All right, well, I don't want to hold everybody. We're at time, but if you have any questions, I'm here until the next session at 2:45. So let me know, but thank you all. It's good to see you. Thank you.
So, alright, so I'm running the math contest. I run the math contest here, and I want to put some answers, some video answers to old, problems. So I can create a video here in,
Oh, you can't see that?
yeah, okay. And then I can have a closed caption. Wait a minute. Okay, wait. All right, so I have some videos. Say I have videos on my computer. I can go to that website and get a closed caption.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. And,
Everything's changed, so I'm like, oh, I better get there.
well, that's Yeah, I don't need that.
Okay, yeah.
I got it right here.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Because they won't post them unless it's accessible.
Yeah, yeah, so they'll caption it for you. It just has to be instructor created. They just won't caption it.
You know what, I have, so I create Word documents and then I
Oh my God, I gotta write something.
I save it as PDF. Then I put it in Canvas and it seemed okay. Am I wrong?
Well, so that's what you do it will.
But I didn't, it wasn't Adobe.
Phone dial.
And it seemed like it was okay. I don't know. If not, I'll have to.
Yeah. You do it,
And
doesn't.
when you say I can download Adobe on my home computer, is that like a temporary use?
No, as long as
Oh,
you're.
it actually puts it into my computer.
Yeah. Then you can edit PDFs, you can convert to Microsoft Word.
I just got a free PDF. So I can do that.
Yeah.
And can you, real quick, how do I get it? I go to,
So basically.
wait, hold on. Let me look at my notes. Log into Adobe Pro or just go to Adobe Pro. It's gonna say, well, and there's a button that says log in. I'll probably figure it out. Okay.
You can always go to, you can always reach out or you can submit, if you just Google Bakersfield College Academic Technology. You have on the, yeah. If you go here, then you have our support request, and you can fill it out, you know, if Matt and I are off or something.
It's the new accreditation standards that will be looking at everybody's.
And then, when I click on that, what happens?
So then it'll just take you to a form that you fill out.
What about it?
The goal is to outdo Banner.
I'm gonna say I don't know what I'm doing.
This one?
That
one's hard. Yeah.
You can do that at 3 AM. Don't wake anyone up. Unless Dan has it like to automatically ding every time it goes through, but I don't think he.
Well, here's another thing, like you were saying, making headers, right? So my syllabus, so I should make every main thing a header, because if you're trying to scroll through it. Okay, but I think it okayed it when I put it on.
Yeah, so that's the limit with accessibility checkers, because it might see one header.
Do it, it said it was okay.
Exactly, so you do it, doesn't always check, it doesn't always catch everything. It might see enough headers, that it's like, okay, that document has headers, that's okay.
Ah,
So that's why we always.
so if it's okay, it's not necessarily.
Accessibility crash course.
Exactly,
I just can't. Who's gonna tell me it's not okay?
With John? With John?
Just like, if we have
Okay.
issues,
Or
we do
is-
it and like ask questions, like it was more of a.
Oh, like the panel?
Yeah,
How
right.
to- and then just
John Farmer.
go back and fix it.
And header and tag is just the same thing.
Okay.
Header and tag is the same thing.
How to do you?
Untagged is no headers, yeah.
All the accessibility things.
Okay, I should have come to that then. Cause I went to You Do It with John Farmer and he just like. What's in it? It was very. But I guess my question, and maybe you can help me with this, right? As he was going through stuff and I've got my list of issues in my classes and my courses. He was doing things I've never done before in my life, right? I don't know how to fix them, right? One of my deals didn't have a title, it needed to be tagged, and he took it through a PDF and went here and went there and started clicking all these buttons. And I just asked him, I'm like, what you just did, I would not know how to do.
Right.
So how am I supposed to make my course accessible, which I'm not, I want to do it, like I totally want to do it. I think all of our faculty want to do that.
Yeah.
However, maybe it's just me. I don't know how to do them. So I get this list of all these things that need to be fixed and I don't know how to fix them.
Right.
And yet we have this hard deadline that we're supposed to hit. And I guess it's a part of complaining, but yet also frustration.
Take it off of your site and then your video.
Okay, see, I missed this course. I should have been here, not over
Teaching it
there. Tomorrow, maybe? No?
Oh, you're not.
Here, this is what you need.
We have,
All that right there.
Hello.
More help.
Is there anything in here after this?
Thank you.
yeah, we can go over.
We
it
can
really
go over some big tips at the end of this thing.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You'll be.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
should have said you will be fine, not you should be.
Thank you, Alex.
That's
No,
not,
I think I agree with the first one. I feel like we're all in that boat, though. We should all be fine.
be okay. It doesn't.
Yeah, when I was this morning,
Yeah.
it's kind of
What is going on?
open ended,
yet.
like, you had questions.
With John?
It was working today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and.
But I'm not in.
I'm
not working for you.
This is what I got frustrated with. I kicked off the great session earlier where I was just like, I'm just having so much fun.
Like questions.
All right, thanks a lot. Hey, how's it going?
You still get in the pool?
Yeah, you know, I go slow, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not like you guys.
So I.
Oh, you have twins, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, how's that going?
Oh, man, it's a ton of work, but yeah, it's I don't know, it's awesome. Like, I feel like it's, I won't candy coat it. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. But it's also the most, I don't know, it's also the most amazing, but in ways that I wouldn't have before defined as amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And just to see like somebody that, you know, the first time they ever touch a door, you know, that, like, and I think about how like, I'm so used to like, you know, we want to tell them no, but they don't even understand the concept of no at this point, nor have they ever been told no in their entire life. It's like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Arnie and them get them every Saturday for a few hours while we do our own thing.
Okay, so you get a little break.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I said.
Cool, good to see you.
Yeah, good seeing you.
So it's just that, and then there's another faculty member who does a lot of videos, and she was having issues. She essentially said, I deleted my Canvas shell because I've had trouble. And so it took 45 minutes of the hour showing her how to go to 3C. And
He had us do that.
showed the captions, but as I'm watching this and witnessing, I'm like, I would not do that. Like, I've never been taught to do that. I've never been how to do that, which my own ignorance, you know, but at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of
That's why
steps.
they workshops, so we can learn
Agreed,
about
yeah.
it.
And here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go to my department meeting on Thursday and my faculty's gonna go, well, I don't know how to do all that. Well, did you go to any flex shops? Did you go to the workshops? Did you go, I mean,
Yeah, and I think because sometimes it's a little frustrating too, just even like, you know, because we started enrolling and stuff concurrent to having to deliver stuff, right? And for me, it's frustrating because when you do, it even says, okay, heading styles are out of order or whatever it tells you about heading styles. I'm like, but if you haven't looked into it and you don't know what it means by out of order, what does that actually mean? And what are heading styles? Like some people, I run into that issue a lot where people don't understand that. Oh, the heading style isn't just changing the size of the font on the page. It actually is attached to stuff and we see it in Word, but it's like, oh, that's what that actually means. And it needs to go consecutively, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was saying about title. I thought when it told me I didn't have titles. I was
Oh, on the
like, all my
PDFs?
Files have
Right.
titles, the top of the page has a title. What are they talking about? And I had to Google it to figure out that, oh, they mean. in
That settings
properties,
title, yeah, properties, yeah.
in the info section.
On a PDF, because even if you get a PDF and you fix it and you do it, sometimes it'll come back and say it doesn't have a title. But they're not talking about the file name. They're actually talking about a preferences setting on the document in PDF. You have to open that up and put a title in.
But if you do it in Word first, then you don't, then it transfers over.
Yeah.
So I was telling him, do it in the original and then you don't have to fix it every time.
But there's also a way that I haven't done this with this yet, but I wanted to play with it. I used to do it with graphic files when I worked at the Californian. But you can, let's say I have like a file folder full of PDFs, right? I can actually open it up in Adobe Acrobat and start recording my actions that I take on that PDF. So let's say I go into preferences, I change that title, and then I say save, stop recording, now do it to everything in this folder. Then I don't have to click and open up each thing and go through that. It does it all. So I could just create like a generic title in the background. I mean, it's kind of cheating the system, but I could create a generic title on that preferences thing because it's not actually looking for a legitimate title. It's like a settings thing.
Yeah.
but the people with screen readers, that
Is that
does.
the deal
fit.
that it pulls from?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my question. So when he did.
Cause I'm like, cause then they also get the title of it in the in the link, right?
Yes. But I think the way it outlines,
Yeah, when it's tagged and all good.
it's, so you do need to have an
I would love
appropriate
that tag
title.
process.
for that.
That's what I asked him after. He helped me with the title of one of my PDFs. And he went on through the whole process and he showed it to me and I go, okay, now tell me, how did that just make it more accessible to a student? And he said, if someone has a screen reader, the screen reader would need to see it.
That's really the big thing about it is it's all shifting your thinking to set things up for a screen reader.
Is it what the DSPS department used to do for those students?
They do accommodations. So my understanding, at least since I've been here and trying to work on accessibility stuff, is they do accommodations. So accessibility is like about setting up the environment to be accessible to everyone. Whereas accommodations is taking things that aren't accessible and making them so that they will accommodate somebody who has those needs.
Right, so is that what we're doing now?
Well, no, ours, I feel like is more understanding the tools and how to build stuff accessibly rather than like an accommodation would be granting extra time on a quiz, right? Canvas is set up to do that, but the fact that Canvas can do that is an accessible practice, whereas the accommodation is changing it per student. That's how I see it anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think we're doing a lot of work. I mean, the amount of hours I've spent
Oh, yeah.
in the past 2 months doing this.
I had faculty
And I'm
last,
like, how many students is this really affecting?
I had faculty last semester. I had one in particular that came to every office hour I offered for 5 weeks straight, sitting in L160, going through the accessibility stuff. And they pretty much guarantee that, and they had so much stuff. They had like over 1,000.
One year, science major. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then there's some things that just, I mean, certain AutoCAD stuff for like the drafting people and stuff like. Yeah, we don't, yeah, there's just exceptions.
I just don't know if.
I don't understand. All my PowerPoints keep coming up as
Oh, yeah,
they're all.
and you do it doesn't read PowerPoint very well.
So I said in the last meeting. So. This is my PowerPoint, so you go into their. Their recent PowerPoint version, like my last edition.
Recording in progress.
And that wasn't flagged. But it's all trial and error.
And then there's also some things that, it's funny because UDO was built by CD Labs, who also built design tools. But then when you use something design tools, sometimes it flags like a color or a space or something in the HTML that it flags as an accessibility error. So even their two products don't necessarily play nice.
Not helping the argument, Matt. You're not helping at all.
Well, and I find that if I borrow stuff from other people, Canvas, because I didn't want to build everything from scratch, it kind of work together.
Yeah.
And importing it in somehow creates another layer that I had to remove the color behind to make their stuff accessible. It's weird, I don't know. But
Yeah, there's a lot of things last semester, Carl, that popped up that we weren't quite expecting as we. To me, there's actually 3 tools that should be used: design tools, Pope Tech, and Canvas. Those 3 things together would make a really powerful accessibility tool. Yeah, because design tools does exceptionally well with color contrast type stuff and WCAG values. Pope Tech does, well, it's in there too. Actually, I would replace Canvas with it. So I would say that Pope Tech is the industry standard for accessibility tools. We have it installed. No, it's been around a while. We just didn't have certain things installed at one point. And then
do the same job as you.
it does, but I don't think I don't think it creates like the tagged PDFs or converts documents into Canvas pages or stuff like that.
Yeah, because I checked that and it doesn't flag like you do.
Yeah. Do intro. Yeah.
Thank you for giving me.
Hello, everyone. We'll go ahead and give people a few minutes to get settled in. Some people are still trickling in. We'll get going in just a couple minutes. If you are coming to look and learn about the Quality Continuum rubric for distance education, where we go over substantive and regular interaction, that's what we will be covering today. I did not invite anybody into the shell yet, so. Yeah, get your laptops out. I mean, do we want them to do that? We have that assignment.
Supposed to be evaluating interaction online.
Yep, that's it.
Matt, I signed up for this training this weekend, so I wasn't on your list. But I just saw you pull up.
Then I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, Amanda. No, I'm kidding. I'll go ahead and add you to the class.
Thanks.
What is is it just Amanda.Tumblin?
Yes, Amanda.Tumblin. Same thing for me.
And who's me? Teresa, is that you?
Me too, but that was Bonnie. So yeah, I just signed up today. Thanks.
We're adding everybody to the Canvas class. We're going to be talking about regular and substantive interaction planning. Was that the title that we put? That's not the title.
No.
That's why I was confused. Oh, okay, yeah, a false hook. We're gonna be talking to you about the law. For real. So does everybody know about the new ACCJC requirement for teaching online? Well, good thing you're here. We're gonna be talking about that. But basically it's a way that we can think about how we can create really high quality interactions online. We know that in online classes, sometimes success is not as high as face-to-face classes, but actually in courses that are well designed and taught by qualified instructors who really know how to teach online, success rates can be higher. So there's really powerful opportunities we have online courses to create meaningful interactions with our students, and the rubric, while it helps us adhere to law, also helps us to have better interaction with students online. I feel like we're teaching people and they feel like they're not doing stuff. It's always nice. Okay, so you all should be getting access to the Canvas course, and basically this will just walk you through the rubric. Matt's gonna do a little introduction,
Let me just add one more person and then I'll be happy to do it.
You should get an email invite?
It should be an email, or if you guys, we are inviting you into this Canvas shell. So if you go to your Canvas dashboard, up on the very top of your dashboard, you'll have a little banner that says you have been invited into Understanding Accreditation RSI Standards. Happen yet? Try refreshing the page. Oh, yes. Thank you. Sarah doesn't have to take, she's actually going to step in for me and take over.
This is something you learn from experience.
Mhm.
Very good. 10. First time to 100 gets.
That means Alex has 10 points, Sarah has 10 points. Are you keeping track of all these people we need to reach back?
It's just me and Sarah in a,
I meant from the previous session.
oh, I thought I was just gonna say.
You always get 10 points. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me try again, Dyson. Okay, Becky, I just resent you the invitation. Let me know if you got that one. Cool. Okay. So what you are looking at is a Canvas course that goes over the quality continuum rubric for distance education from the ACC-JC. They're the accrediting body that will be coming to campus to do our accreditation. And just to let you know, they do not let us know which classes they will be looking at. They pick random classes and then use this rubric to look at them for online. And we don't get to know who those people are. So we thought it would be helpful to kind of go over the standards that this rubric brings up. So just to let you know, on this homepage here on the course, if you click on this link here, that's actually going to take you straight to the rubric itself. And this is what that looks like. And basically within each criteria, the nice thing about it is it starts with very minimal sort of alignment. So it starts with initial, and then it just goes up to very highly developed, right? So you can, in each element, you can have an initial status, you have an emerging, developed, highly developed. So nothing we go over today in the rubric is, their standard starts with what immediately aligns. Anything below that or outside of it does not. A couple of things about the rubric itself. First off, it's a resource to support the institutions, right? Additionally, it's used to prompt collegial dialogue between institutions and faculty and among institutions. And as I stated, it also assumes minimal compliance at the initial level and exemplary practice at the highly developed level. And it's also based on the policy on DE and correspondence education, which I have provided a link to. Let me tell you what it is not. This is not a rubric that is intended to evaluate the performance of instructional faculty, right? It's not meant to do that. It's also not meant to be used to determine the level of quality of each course section. And once again, the link to policy on DE and correspondence education from the ACC-JC if you'd like to read more about that. When they come to review, they will be doing it in peer review teams. And I provided a little bit of information about the teams there, including a couple of links you should know about. So once again, the policy on DE and correspondence education. I've also provided the link to Accreditation Standard 2.6. And I've also given you the link to the accreditation handbook as a whole. You guys can look through that when you want to. I know that'll probably be your reading tonight and maybe Saturday, right? Oh, yeah, you already read. There's nothing I like to do more than after a night of drinking, I go home and I cuddle up with the accreditation handbook and, oh, it's just wonderful, you know? I'm like, sorry, honey, I'm not putting the kids to bed tonight. I've got accreditation handbook to read, yeah. Okay. Before I get into some of this, one thing that we invited you into the shell for is Alex and I created an assignment. And it is called, basically, it's a little bit of reflection. So in a little bit, we're going to spend time going through each of the criteria through the 2 sections of the rubric. And what we'd like you to do is spend some time. It doesn't have to be done by the end of today's workshop. Take the full week if you want to. But we want you to spend a little bit of time and do 2 parts of the assignment. First, think about some elements in your class and take 2 examples from the substantive interaction section and tell us how you align, or if you don't align, how you could correct yourself to align, right, in your course. Part 2 is take 2 examples from the regular interaction section and do the same thing, right? Think about ways in which you align, ways in which you don't. Are you an initial status? Are you a highly developed? Are you an emerging? And if that doesn't make sense now, don't worry, we'll get into that. Yeah, you should all know it. We are done. Have a good weekend. See you later. No. And I also provide direct links to all the different criteria right here on the assignment page. Okay. So that's, you can access that by going straight to assignments in the class. And actually, let me do this. Not that one. Okay. With that said, as I stated, the rubric is really broken into 2 sections. Now, we're used to like the OEI course design rubric, which has so many different elements. This is actually relatively small in comparison, and there's a lot of freedom in what they state. So let's go ahead and go to substantive interaction. So there are 5 different criteria in the substantive interaction section, and at least 2 of those need to be met, according to the team when they come and do the peer review. Criteria A is all about providing direct instruction, and Alex is going to go over that. Criteria B is about assessment and feedback. Criteria C is about information and responding. Criteria D is about facilitating group discussions. And criteria E is other instructional activities. Now, there's really only 4, because criteria E has, the ACC-JC has not provided anything further about additional instructional activities that meet the rubric. So that's just something that's a placeholder. I don't know if they've stated it. I don't know if they're planning to put something there at some point in time, but currently there's nothing. There is nothing under criteria E. But just to be aware, because I would hate for down the road for us to come back and, well, they never said anything about criteria. Well, now we can say like, no, you guys just didn't, not you guys, but like they didn't say, spell it out for us. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go ahead and start with criteria A. Alex.
Okay, so to meet the substantive, so basically you need to meet the substantive and the regular interaction to be able to pass for accreditation, right? And we just need to get 2 out of these criteria to be able to pass. We just need 2 out of the 4 for the first one. So the first option is synchronous engagement. Criteria A can only be met if we're teaching online, like Zoom. Sorry, we're teaching Zoom. So we're only going to be able to get criteria A if we're teaching a Zoom class. If we're not teaching a Zoom class, you can't get criteria A. Let's go on to the next one.
Actually, would you talk over here so it's not connected to the system?
So do we need to go into this? Does anybody here teach Zoom sessions? Okay, so I'm gonna skip over. Yes, so Chris, exactly right. Asynchronous courses cannot meet criteria A. So that one's automatically out. So that means that we have 2 criteria that we got to get out of 3. So let's go to B.
Oh, and can I point out something
Yeah.
real quick? Just so that you know, when you're in the course, if you scroll down under the application block, in these tabs, just notice that we not only state what the rubric states up here, but we also provide examples of what could count for that. It's not prescriptive, it's not the only thing, but there are examples that we provide.
Okay, so for criteria B, Basically, this one is just looking at, can you all see that okay in the back? So this one is looking at feedback. So if we are using automated feedback on our assignment, we're not gonna be able to meet this. We can.
For the AI bot that I was talking about.
Well, exactly. But the bigger thing is if we're using publisher content and we have publisher graded assignments, this will not meet this criteria, right? So if you have quizzes and the publisher is the one that grades the quizzes, or it's automatically graded through the publisher system, you cannot meet this criteria. So you want to make sure that you have some assignment during the semester that you are grading yourself so that you can meet this criteria. You only need to meet the initial. So that's where we're starting. As long as we meet the initial, then you're meeting accreditation standards. You can go all the way up to highly developed, but you definitely need to meet the initial.
How would a reviewer know what kind of feedback we're giving to our students?
They go into your Canvas class
As a student? Or like,
as a teacher.
They get full access.
so they can see, like, if I've graded assignments, if I've left comments, if I've used a rubric, they can actually.
Yes, exactly. And so this is why it's also really important. They are only going to be looking at the Canvas interactions. They're not going to be looking at interactions outside of Canvas. So if you use Pronto or Discord or something like that, that interaction will not, to my knowledge, show up on the accreditation evaluation. I'm sorry, what?
How are you getting around privacy?
It's accreditation. They need to have access to our class.
Yeah, but it's still a problem.
Good question for legal.
That's not me. Not my career, yeah.
Have they quantified how many assignments they have?
No, and so it's a lot of the indications talk about like reasonable amounts for the amount of time your class is. So I would say, this is like provide, meaningful comments on some. So if you're thinking about ways that you can consistently, is it only going through here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because it doesn't connect to the system.
Hopefully, okay. Can you all hear okay online now?
Yes, we can now.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I would say, if you try to make it like, if you're teaching a 16-week course, if you're having something regularly scheduled in your syllabus where it's really clear that students are going to be getting feedback on that, then that would be reasonable to me. So, maybe sometimes it might be every week, or it might be, every few weeks, depending on the type of assignment.
So you should state something in your syllabus. Would that cover us?
I would definitely have it in your syllabus outlining when students are going to be getting feedback and what that looks like.
And in fact, I think that's a criteria in regular interaction. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but basically, as long as you're providing feedback, then you're good. So this could be, you're grading the quiz questions. An emerging example might be, you provide annotated feedback and speed graders. So you can go through these different examples. Does anybody off the top of their head have an example that they use or a way that they make sure that they're providing their students regular feedback?
I want to ask a question and an example. So, but a lot of us I know use the submission comments, right? So if they've submitted an assignment, submission comments, and then you can reassign if it's an assignment. So a lot of times I'll use that and just say, I'll reassign it and just say, fix up what you've missed or do whatever. And it has rubrics and all of that kind of stuff. So, but I was on a couple of like adjuncts and reviewing them online. And when I would go to their submission comments in Canvas, it didn't list them all. I mean, they were just like not there, but then we would go back, they'd go like, well, I know I did it. and then would go back into the assignment and then they'd have to scroll through each one. Is that normal? And is it gonna keep being that way? Because it's, you know, if the reviewers don't know that that's happening in our system.
When, Teresa, when you were given access to the adjunct courses, do you know what you were provided access under? Were you just like a reviewer, an observer or something?
I think it was observer. But it was really hard to observe someone, especially unless they were, actually, we were meeting together, to do it with not having that access. So I don't know if that's normal or not to have that or not have that. But it was just really weird because actually they were logged in as them. And so when I did this, and they were logged in as their own self because it wasn't working for me just having observer access. So, and they went away, which they were like, I know they're there. So it was really weird.
I might reach out to Dan about that one, Teresa. That doesn't sound like it should be happening, so that might be something like permissions wise that he'll need to have Canvas about.
Yeah, I agree with Alex. That's actually the first I've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Also, just to point out, when you come down to the tables, if you're looking for ways to boost up, if you find that you're an initial and maybe you want to be developed or highly developed, there's links here that take you to the Canvas instructor guides that show you different things that you can do, different ways to give feedback. I know that one thing that is inspiring to me is that Alex often gives video feedback or audio feedback in her class. So you do have that option when you're going through your submission comments to go ahead and do that too, and we provide links to that down there.
Yeah, I love now that they allow you to do screen recording, so you can actually say, this is where you're messing up. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So I have just a question about like automated versus not automated, because now in like the Canvas assignment comments, you can kind of like store some comments and like reuse those over and over if you're, and are those considered automated or are they not automated?
That is not considered automated. So basically what it's saying is what they don't want is they don't want you to use a textbook and just have the textbook basically like you're not doing anything. You're not doing any of your grading. The textbook is doing all the grading. That's what they're trying to do.
So like if somebody's using like Turnitin and they have like, you know, stored commentary, like, you know, a run-on sentence, misspelling, and they just have those comments stored and they drag and drop them and place them. That's not automated.
No, no, because, yeah.
Does it matter if we make comments on an assignment within the submission box or within the assignment itself?
No, as long as you're providing feedback, check, you got it, you're good.
So the auditors will actually look at the assignments within them. And see if we wrote something.
Exactly. Think of it as facilitated feedback. It's like our little feedback helper buddy, but we're still the boss of the feedback. We're the feedback boss. And they're doing what we tell them to do.
How do rubrics fit into this?
Rubrics are one of the criteria.
That actually will kick you into highly developed.
Yes,
You just made comments on the grading, so that will help with it.
exactly. So here you see if you have detailed rubrics, then you're hitting the score. So like for every assignment I have a rubric for my students. So that would be highly developed, even if I don't necessarily go through and provide really detailed feedback on that rubric. I have that rubric, I use it to grade, check, done, moving on. It's pretty straightforward, right? It feels overwhelming, but it's not. Yeah.
I love that idea of the video comment having to be said. Do we have to caption?
I thought that's what Sarah was gonna ask, but you did, good job. So what I do at the beginning of the semester is I have a getting to know you survey, which you can find in Commons too. Actually, Sarah, I use Sarah's getting to know you survey. Okay, yeah. But anyway, so if you look up getting to know you survey, you can pull it into your class, and in that I say, I will provide audio or video feedback this semester. Are you okay with that? And it says yes or no. And if they check yes, then I don't have to worry about captioning because they're opting into it. But if they check no, then I provide written comment. And so I just keep a mark in my grade book, the notes column. Do you all know about the notes column? I'm going to show you that because that's another one of those things that's a life changer. But in the notes column, I just keep track of who needs written feedback, and I have that up when I'm grading so that I keep it straight.
You can also open that survey and like it has all the questions and you can click like like, if you have like, yeah, the no experience, because if you look at the no, it'll actually bring up a list of all the students that said no, and I just have that on my screen while I grade.
Yes,
Sarah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
You
man.
don't have to go through every single survey and like write it down, you can just like open it up.
Wow. Wow. I really wish you would have told me that years ago, but thank you so much.
Bella's asking, is there a way to verify if the student has viewed the feedback?
Not to my knowledge. Does
No.
anybody know of a way?
You know what, something's really disturbing, you know how when you put comments on on assignment, which I put tons? You should always do just one comment, because otherwise they can not always find the original one, because the only one that shows in their grade book is the last one you did.
Okay.
Yeah, it does help to give students guidance on how to find the feedback because it can be hard for them to know where to find the feedback. Yeah. All right.
I give them, I realized how hard it was, because I was giving them the exact answer and they keep missing it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay, so now we're moving on to C. We got B, now let's go on to C. So, for this one, this is titled Providing and Responding to Questions. So for this is where we want to make sure that, again, we're not just basically using textbook materials. So as long as there's something that we're creating that is guiding the student through, then we're good. So it could be like a weekly overview video, or it could be we have announcements. Weekly announcements are a really good way to meet this. If you send out weekly announcements, then you're emerging, you're good. And if you send out, you know, if you provide announcements that are more than just reminders, but they dig a little bit deeper into course concepts, then you're getting into highly developed.
And it
If
make-
you're just wanting to make sure that you're meeting that, make sure that you're sending out weekly announcements.
And it also seems to me that based on the earlier commentary, that it would actually have to be done within Canvas, because sometimes people will, you know, download their roster from Banner or whatever and send out an email. But if they're going and still sending announcements in Canvas, but if you're doing something outside of Canvas, then for accreditation purposes, that won't be seen.
Exactly. My understanding is that will be visible, but I'm not entirely sure about that.
Because when you email students from within Canvas, the grade book, you email it actually goes through Canvas inbox.
Exactly, yeah. So, but I would, it's for accreditation, it's easier to just have everything in announcements. So easy way to make sure you're meeting that one. Any other ideas about meeting that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what about, for example, every single week I have a topic materials page that has a whole bunch of additional.
Yeah. Check. Good job. 10 points.
So on their module, you just have a page with all your weekly assignments and everything. Every single week and every single topic has an initial page that has links to every single assignment, everything that's due and then. Great, and so that's criteria C.
That could meet it, yeah. So if you have like a weekly overview page,
Yeah.
if you have a weekly announcement, those would all meet.
So right now, the discussion in the room, for those of you that aren't able to hear, is about providing additional material in your class, such as, you know, a weekly or sending out weekly announcements, having a weekly overview page that provides anything that provides additional information or goes beyond just providing reminders.
Okay, and last one.
Yay,
Yay.
at
So-
least for this one.
Yeah, so last one from this one, this is group discussions. So we've been talking about like online classes. I'm sure we all have discussions, regular ways for students to interact with each other. And so for this, if we have a discussion, we're able to meet this criteria, right? So weekly discussions, we can meet this criteria. And the thing that will allow us to go more towards the highly developed is based on how much we're ourselves interacting in the weekly discussions. So if we have a weekly discussion where we just have the prompt and that's it, we don't actually participate in the discussion ourselves, that would be initial. But if you're actively engaging in the discussion and you say, hey, that was a great thought, but try to think about this. or you respond to this person in the discussion, then you're moving towards highly developed. Yes,
So if you're doing criteria B and C, you don't have to do D.
no, wait, 2, yeah, just 2, yeah. Yeah, isn't it nice?
I mean,
100%.
are just with AI, they're just such a waste of time. Because kids are just copying and AIing them, and I'm like, what the heck, don't you know what you ate for breakfast?
Yeah, discussions are an art, and it's hard to have a really meaningful online discussion. It's not impossible. And they can be really meaningful but it does take a lot of playing around with. The thing that we do want to make sure is that we remember that what we're talking about right now is really focused on instructor interaction. So these are like our bare minimums for instructor interaction. There are also Title V regulations for student to student interaction for online courses. So I would be surprised if within the next couple of years, we don't start seeing rubrics about that as well. So we do want to remember that we do need to think about ways that we can have meaningful student to student interaction in online classes too. And that it could be discussions, it could be something else. It could be group projects, it could be, which are also fun to manage.
I didn't know being a student.
Yeah,
Because one person would do all.
group projects, right?
They're really
Yeah.
fun if you have cross-listed classes.
Yeah, yeah.
I said they're really fun if you have cross-listed classes and students from different sections can interact.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when online interactions between students work, it's really special and it can be really great because, you know, a lot of times our students that are taking online courses may have kids and they may not be able to get to campus, but they really still want that college experience. They want to be able to connect with their colleagues and their peers. And it's kind of like alt text, you know, there's no science to it. Well, in my opinion, but you play around with it, you see what works, what doesn't work. And
When I read this rubric and I saw the highly developed criteria, I immediately went to this faculty that I had in my master's program. And she would assign, a discussion. And then that was when, she would say, this is when we want your initial post by, and then you need to have so many responding posts by this many days later. Well, let's say that she made it due at midnight, your initial post. You would then wake up the next day after you get your initial post in, and she would have already responded to everybody. And you could see timestamps from like 12 a.m. to like 4 a.m. And she was just in there doing exactly what this says, talking about, posing questions, presenting alternative perspectives, trying to make sure that, now don't go off track here with this thing, and it was just really, for me, that was one of the best examples I've ever seen of just, I've never done that myself. I don't set my alarm like, okay, well, I'll stay up till 4 today, but yeah.
but mental health, maybe don't do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You have to do it at noon.
yeah.
Yeah. Sarah, did you?
Yeah, so I was just thinking, does this have to be like weekly discussion boards or something? So if you're someone that doesn't want to do that in your course, could it be like a course questions discussion board? Or like Matt, I know you have kind of like a social chat type of discussion board. Would those meet that as long as you're like, students can post questions, you answer them, that kind of thing? Or does it have to be a weekly discussion?
No, there's nothing that says it has to be weekly discussion. That's just like, if that's something that you're doing, an easy way to check the box. But if you have other ways of doing it that you found work for more authentic interactions, then go forth and prosper. Go forth and prosper.
No, authentic interaction.
Oh, okay, thank you. But it just basically, as long as we're providing prompts, questions, or topics to engage students. So technically that could even be through assignments, right? It doesn't even have to necessarily be through a discussion. It could be like, reflections. We could have weekly reflections that we ask students to do. That would be another, or not even weekly, but a reflection after a major assignment. Those would all be ways that we could meet that.
And Christopher online is asking, with regards to group interactions, assignments, does that factor into the instructor dynamics of the rubric? For example, instructors engaged in the student group work while the group assignments are being completed. So you have the ability in Canvas to create assignment groups, right? And then essentially students within the assignment groups get their own little like Canvas site within your course. Now, Christopher, I would assume that, yeah, if you're interacting in your present and that's showing one way in which you are interacting and driving discussion forward. So if you're on their, specific little assignment group page and you're contributing to those discussions, or where they can see back and forth where you're provoking and, answering questions and guiding and directing, I would say, yeah, that would probably be a very highly developed version.
Totally. Okay, sweet. So that's it for this one. And you're doing regular?
Sure.
Okay, we have 9 minutes.
Okay. All right, regular is massive, guys. Just embrace yourselves. Here's criteria E, which we said ACC, JC isn't adding anything to, but it's there. Okay, regular interaction has 2 sections. We just have criteria A, which is all about predictable and regular basis, which we'll get into, and also criteria B, which is monitoring, engaging promptly and proactively. So when it comes to predictable and regular basis, it basically states providing the opportunity for substantive interaction with the students on a predictable and regular basis, commensurate with the length of time and the amount of content, the course of, and competency. So essentially, office hours can count for this too, right? This is where if you say, I am holding office hours every Tuesday and Thursday, they are available from 1 to 3:30 p.m. That counts as maintaining that regular and frequent basis. Right now, it's important that you have that communicated out to your students. So did you post that in your syllabus, right? I mean, just those general practices. If you have a change with it, did you communicate the change? That would probably not be more than initial, but that frequent interaction. And that's pretty straightforward. Let's see what I put as the highly developed. Yeah. Is that better? So in some cases, when it talks about in the highly developed version, right, it's talking about yielding equitable student outcomes. So in some cases, if you hold your office hours, for example, both in person and on Zoom, that might be one example because it's not just, in one location. So if you have students that are unable to make it to campus, or perhaps they live in rural areas, they still have that same frequent, regular, that attention from you that they can count on. Yep.
I mean, will adjunct be like dinged on them because they don't always have regular office hours? Their office hours are sometimes like, by appointment only.
Well, they could just be regular.
But they don't, that's not required of them, so they don't always.
Yeah, so if they're teaching online, then I would say definitely just have regular office hours.
Like,
I don't think they can do that.
I didn't add it here, but the places I did add that for as part of our company, we had.
And this has been discussed at other things, but we'll also be delivering this to FCDC tomorrow. Yeah. But you're already going to be there, so we could just give this to you now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and criteria B, monitoring the students. Yeah.
I'm sorry, just a quick question. Does something like say if we regularly send out reminders, this is due, does that count here or not?
I think that falls into that, I think it's criteria B. I'd have to go back, but that would be substantive interaction, I would think.
One that would fit here is if you say, in your syllabus or your communication somewhere in your Canvas, like, here's how often I'm gonna give you feedback. Here's when you can expect it. Like, if you outline it that way, that could also count.
Did you hear that, Teresa?
Parts of it.
So she's saying basically if you outline it in your Canvas or in your syllabus, that would, like, when they can expect that contact and how, like, if you send me an email, I will respond to you within 24 hours.
Yeah, so that would all fall under initial.
Okay, B, monitoring the student's academic engagement and success and ensuring that an instructor is responsible for promptly and proactively engaging in substantive interaction with the student when needed on the basis of such monitoring or upon request by the student. So notice that the initial, it talks about very minimal interaction, frequency of postings, feedback, right? So as it was stated earlier, it's not a very high bar, right? Throughout the term, the course section or the individual students based on monitoring students. So let's see what I put down here for initial. So this is something where maybe you've sent out a handful of announcements in your class to make it a little more tangible. Maybe you just send them out, you know, before midterms, before some tests, before finals, right? That would probably meet the initial thing here. Whenever we're talking about going above and beyond, that's usually going to kick you up the rubric to probably developed or highly developed. Yeah.
This is where reminders could come into play.
Did you hear that, Teresa? Alex said this is where reminders could come into play.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So I always think of the, you know, regular as sort of like the baseline of interaction that should be, you know, present in all. Let me see if there's anything to.
You have both of these for. I know there's an option. Yeah, you need to have both of these.
Yeah.
Both of those and then 2 rows of stairs. Exactly.
Yeah.
Two questions on chat. So would being available for Zoom appointments outside of regular office hours count for that as well? I'm not sure how detailed of feedback we're gonna be getting from ACCJC. So I don't know if they're gonna, I wouldn't expect that we'd be getting individualized feedback. So that would just make a difference of if it's between initial and more developed, which I'm not sure that we're gonna be getting that level of feedback. So Chris, I don't know the answer to your question, but I don't know that we need to know the answer to your question. Is that answer?
So on the first criteria, that you said that as an institution, where they're gonna be looking at 2, do we get to decide, like, as an institution, these are the 2 they're looking at, or can they choose between whichever ones they want? How does that work?
They're going to choose a handful of classes, none of which we will know, 50. They're going to choose 50. And then from fall, and then from that point, they're then going to use those courses against the rubric. So some of the courses may meet, you know, A and B, whereas others meet B and C, or, you know, so. Yeah, we don't as an institution get to choose which 2 they focus on.
But and that's fall of 25?
24.
So they've got, these have
25,
already.
25.
happened.
What was Christy talking about with?
They only do it again.
Got it. Okay.
Then I'm not.
So then they can only choose Zoom classes if they're gonna choose A.
So Teresa, they're gonna look at it, and as long as you get 2 out of those 4, then you pass.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be looking at all the areas. It's just that they're
Yeah,
gonna-
they randomly pull 50 classes from fall of 2024, and if we don't pass, then they're gonna redo it again for spring of 2025. So this is why we're here, because they want us to tell everybody just in case we fail fall, so that we can make sure that we're meeting it for spring.
And I believe it was Mount Sac that did fail.
Oh, interesting. So when are they going through these? Will we know, like, how we do, and do they, like, if 30 courses pass, do they just pick 20, or?
I don't know when they're, Sandra, do you know when they're going through? Or when we know the people?
This is new, so.
Yeah. Right, we don't know, we don't know. Just make sure your spring classes are good. Just in case, it's always good to have a bird in hand. Did you have it? And then we see a question about frequent starfish requests. So I would say, Lisa, that's a very good question. That would be a great example of meeting that. I don't know if they're gonna be looking at starfish.
We can ask that question though, Lisa.
Yeah, we'll ask that question and share our information. But if you're sending reminders through Canvas, like message students who haven't submitted, that would show up. For sure.
Through the grade book.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. I don't want to hold everybody late, so any last questions before we wrap up? Wait, don't we go into?
I guess I just want to reconfirm, so as to not fail, all we need to do is meet the initial?
Yep, the initial is the bare minimum that needs to be met. If you meet initial, then you are aligned to the rubric.
time. Oh, somebody left. My bad.
That answer your question, Teresa?
Yeah, thank you guys. It's
Yeah.
good.
It's not over yet.
All right, so that concludes the tour of the rubric. Just remember, if you would like to contribute to the assignment, and just sort of post, you can write it as a document, you can upload it. There's also the text entry feature. So, it's really up to you, but if you'd like to start thinking about your class and, you know, some strengths and weaknesses you may have, that's what the assignment is for. So thank you all for attending today.
Matt, how long will we have access to this show?
I will not be taking it away anytime in the near future.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions or do you feel confident about them?
This assignment then, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, well, what you want to do is like, you know, so take like from substantive interaction A, B, C, and D. Choose 2 of those criteria and then talk about how your course, like, do you align with, yeah. Do you want to, are you initial, emerging, developed, highly developed? Yeah. Well, thanks, Christopher. Appreciate it. Thanks, Karen. I like it a lot. I mean, in terms of the length of it, I'm like, oh, it's so much more comfortable than some of the other rubrics we've been
Yeah,
looking at.
yeah, and it's very straightforward. It feels incredibly overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not very clear, like why they have, like initial to the highly. Oh, right. Isn't that much different? No, yeah, that's true.
There were some cases when I was spelling out the examples, I was like, I feel like this could work for either. Yeah.
Like, when it's needed. Exactly, yeah. Then more often than not, not always. Yeah. This again, we could. Oh, nice, all right. So I'm just putting it out there. Yeah. We need to. Right. Yeah, I think we can do it. I bet a lot. I bet a lot of our classes are there. But how scary that. Some classes don't have any interaction. And that's, you know, for Mount SAC, I mean, thinking of Mount SAC, wow, that their distance ed isn't supported. That's pretty, yeah. Especially when you look at what the initial requires. It's not hard. And so that they got to be in their home, yeah, and then, you know, they might in a perfect world thinking that everybody's interacting with their students, maybe. Yeah, I don't know what we see. Overwhelming. I only read my little girl, you know?
I was gonna say, based on what we see in office hours, I really hope there's some that they don't look at.
I think the hard thing though is like when people are giving classes like right before the semester started, they never top line, you know. That should not happen. It should not happen. Yeah. There's so much to know. Yeah.
And if you've taught somewhere else, it's pretty quick because you can just import from your previous Canvas.
Always save all the Canvas courses. Yeah, but if you're teaching the first time. Yeah.
That's what I want to do. What I'm online.
Right.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry, I ended 15 minutes early.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
This morning.
Hey, Carl, what is, hey, Carl? What's the CRN of one of your classes you want to look at?
30008.
What? It's something.
Yeah.
I thought it had a lot. I'm sure it hasn't. It's professional development. I'm not getting going.
There's certain precedents. He does it, I mean, it's normal, but.
There's a little bit of everything, it looks like.
Yeah.
What's that?
You know,
Sure.
I was like, I'm just gonna have to cut through your conversation.
Incognito tab.
Okay.
Bye. Like on your mouth. Bye. Nice to see you. Okay, just so you can look at it and you can tell me if you don't know what any of those. The thing about the accessibility checkers is it's not gonna always catch everything. And so if you don't know what you're doing, sometimes you can make it worse when you're trying to fix errors, if you don't know what they mean. Okay, so a lot of times accessibility is presented as like a whole bunch of random stuff that you have to remember. But I like to think of it as these buckets. So lists, you know, about lists like, okay, and headings, right? So everything, okay. Alternative text,
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
okay. And then color, are you getting a lot of errors about color? Okay, so the color is that you can't use color alone to convey meaning, because if somebody's colorblind, they won't know what it means. So you have to italicize and use color. But sometimes when you do it, you're gonna get an error that there's color, but there's no color, right? Is that what you're seeing?
I've gotten that.
Yeah.
And
And then you just hit remove color and it doesn't even look like it changed, but
Yeah.
somehow it did.
This is the HTML, that, okay. So how do I, so this is the old.
Right.
So I have one that doesn't have any text, it's still in the month of the new class.
Okay.
And just import the new one, like,
Okay.
or all of them. But, yeah, so let's go with the color one. Oh,
That's the one, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, and then the other thing is that you need to have enough color contrast. Let's scroll down and get more comments. Yeah, so styles for document structure. So here, this is fun, there's from the HTML, so that's why it was showing up, even though there's no text there, okay? So that's basically what it's saying is that it's saying, hey, you're not using headers. Because it thinks that you're trying to bold instead of using a header, even though there's no text. So I would go here. Just want to. So some of this, so a lot of this is how you should have been. So like, one of these, we have that.
These come from like the publisher, from the textbook, and I just copy and paste them in there.
Right, okay.
So,
So what I would do first is I would just clean up this here and go edit and make sure that the internet resources is what I get better.
like all these, I should do that.
Yeah, as long as they're, so if that's the internet resources and that's except like, so if you below that, maybe we're just hiding it. You know, if you're thinking of that one. And so then you have a lot of three, so you never know, kind of doing having five.
Okay.
Now
I'll go now, I see. Don't need to do that, I do it, I do it every time.
Yeah, so it's probably gonna be easier for you to just fix it in the page and then you scan, and then those errors should go away.
Got it. Okay.
So if you see a lot of errors on the same page, it's just easier to fix it on that page.
Okay,
And then.
instead of doing it.
Exactly.
So that What about the older file formats?
Oh, so that one, do you use all that?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, they go with each chapter. I'm sure there's some in there that I could probably delete out of there. And students don't have access to all of them. I just kind of have them like, from other sections that are in there in case they want to access them, but.
Okay. So it might be easiest if you, like keep the ones that you don't use in a different shell.
Okay.
And then just clean up one shell with the stuff that you know are gonna use. But what you would do, so do you have Adobe Pro downloaded on your computer? When you did that, pretty easy. So all you need to do then is just resave it as a newer version of the PDF and you can re-upload it. So there's an option when you go to review file. Download a file, and then you can replace them.
So then I would save it as a PDF. And then do that.
Oh, the PowerPoint. So you'd probably just download the PowerPoint and then resave it.
So I need to do that for all.
But it's not fine. No.
But it's not, so if I just marked it as reviewed. So is that,
Oh, you could do that too. So that
What? Mark, what should-
older PowerPoints instead of resaving it as the newer PowerPoint, because it's not gonna check it in.
But I mean, the goal would still be to have the PowerPoint accessible, right? So,
if I know how to do it, I'll do it. So I just need to, like, I will, like, unless I'm learning this, I wouldn't know to save it. Resave it as something, or download it, resave it as something else. Like, I didn't know how to do that. So I can
Right.
do that. That's easy.
And then in PowerPoint, you have an accessibility checker,
Okay.
and it'll just tell you any of the things that are not accessible. And it's pretty easy, like, you know, you'll add alt text if you have images, or you can just mark it exactly as. It shouldn't be.
What's the latest PowerPoint? I have 2016.
I never actually used PowerPoint,
No?
Yeah,
but
What do you do?
slides, Google Slides. What about converting the PowerPoint to PDF and then auto tagging it within the system? Or can you do it?
And then having to install it.
So like, once I open it up in here, you said I could do it.
Yeah.
Like, can I do it from this shell? I'd have to download it.
Yeah, you download it and you open it up and stuff.
There you go. Yeah, every time we signed on and we went to adobe.com, Adobe Acrobat Pro was not an option for, or VC or whatever, it was just the reader one. Yeah. She reached out to IT and I didn't hear back.
Okay, so what I download.
Okay, perfect. So then, there should be the review tab at the top. If you go to accessibility.
This page is missing these things.
Actually, the whole thing. So that's pretty good. You're just missing alt text on that slide, a header row. And so if you click on group 52, it'll lead you right there. And if you right click on it.
This?
No, on the right.
There's a picture or an image you're saying?
So you also need a header for this. Basically, these are the headers. You just, set the first column. Okay, so now that error went away, I'm just trying to figure out where the image is.
No. I'm trying to also understand, what does that do? Like, what did it just do for my students?
So basically, if you don't have the header, if the header rows aren't selected on the table, it's just gonna read it like this. For a screen. And that,
Okay.
so you need to be able to say like, this is the header, so that it knows to read it, so that this can go with.
To emphasize the header.
Exactly.
And it helps the screen reader know how to navigate the page. Just like how, visually we could, well, I've already read this part, I'm jumping here. It allows the student using screen reading software to do kind of the same thing, they just have to take action to do it.
Exactly. I'm just not seeing where the image is. It's not. So that's the caption, so,
Okay.
that's why, does that make sense now? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then do the list and the heading make sense?
The headings do now.
Okay. Cause that's how you navigate through it.
Yeah. Okay. And
Um,
the
maybe
list.
with the-
Okay.
If it's not formatted as a list, but you just have like a circle next to it, a screen reader won't know to read that as a list,
Okay.
so it'll be confusing for students. Using screen. So that's why, like, a lot of this stuff is just about making sure that the HTML code on the background matches what we're visually designing that to be.
They're presenting us at CDC too.
They are at high school.
You know? But the files, that's what we're just working on.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so basically it was from the accessibility checker. The Word document, they can say, you want to make sure that you, let's pull up, you have a document.
In my thoughts. That was the one, the title, that's who did, he showed me over
Okay.
there on taking it and resaving it to PDF.
Yeah.
So do I just request it as a download it again, right? Same thing?
And you can Google.
Okay.
I really easy one to just Google how I have it all.
I knew it was fine. Stuff in there.
Yeah.
So like again, once I pull this document, the headings are just like you showed me where they're gonna have. The main heading, and then like heading 30 or before you do that, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like if you have content underneath, that's not a heading. That doesn't need to be a heading. That can be paragraph text.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and then, and looks like most of the issues are. In the. The comments don't look like that when you do that. In the PowerPoint, it's kind of see that. And then the more you use that, also document it. Yeah. Or you can just remove the color if you want. And then.
Is that a public contact?
That's all I have to do to that one? Well, it says apply to all items issues with.
That means that, see, it had an issue before and it. So there's two others, so if you just click apply, then it'll fix all those issues on it.
I got 674 issues I gotta put in.
Well, how about the use of drugs or alcohol?
That would probably not help at all. What did I like?
But honestly, your errors, they don't look that, it looks like you'll be sitting and watching TV and clicking through, because they don't look that serious. Yeah.
Even you just saying 600 and something, there's people that have thousands.
Yeah.
I'm gonna log you out.
Okay.
Thank you both.
Yeah, no
This,
problem.
this deal we did today was really good. I really appreciate it.
Good. Well, you get to see it again tomorrow.
Well, I can benefit again from it. I feel like honestly, I'm encouraged by what I hear. I know my classes could be better,
Yeah.
100%.